All right, fifth graders, this lesson is all about finding numbers that are 1/10 more or 1/10 less than another number. So the problem to begin with, we can think about Wanda walked 1/10 of a kilometer more on Tuesday than on Monday. You can see a map of her Monday walk, 3 55/100. She walked 1/10 of a kilometer less on Wednesday than on Monday. How far did she walk on Tuesday and how far did she walk on Wednesday? So how could we figure that out is what we'll be thinking about today. So again, this is just restating it. How far did she walk on Tuesday and on Wednesday? We know that she hiked 3 55/100 of a kilometer on Monday. What representation can we use? One way we can think about it is by using a number line. So you can write that on your notes. We can use a number line in order to think about 1/10 more or 1/10 less. So if we were thinking about, okay, where would I put 3 55/100 on the number line? Take a guess and put it on your notes. All right, hopefully you saw, okay, well, I know it's going to be bigger than 3 5/10 because I have that. Plus there's this other next part. It's not going to be all the way to 3 6/10. It's going to be right here. 3 55/100. So halfway between 5/10 and 6/10. If it helps, you can add zeros to these and think about like, oh, 50 and 60. 55 is going to be right halfway in between those things. And then we can use that to help us think about what would be 1/10 more. So if I put it there, how can I jump up 1/10? Well, no, this is only jumping up 1/2 tenth. So I know I need to go all the way over there to get to a full tenth because each line is only 1/2 tenth and we need to go that full tenth. You can also see it down here. They visualized it. Again, it's jumping up that far to 3 65/100. So again, 3 65/100 is 1/10 more than 3 55/100. There's another strategy if the number line's a little confusing. Because again, if we're going to go 1/10 less than 3 55/100, we can just go the opposite direction and go down there. Again, we have to really be careful to look at what the number line is counting by if we choose to use that strategy. So we can visualize, oops, there we go. Sorry. There we go. So we can count down to 3 45/100. Notice how just this tenths place is changing. So that's the next strategy, is to just think in terms of place value. So go ahead, write that in the next blank on your sheet. We can think in terms of place value, which is how a lot of fifth graders choose to think about 1/10 more and less, is if we just look and we say, okay, here was Monday. The tenths is just the only thing that's changing because it's just 1/10 of a kilometer less or 1/10 of a kilometer more. So I'm just changing the 5 to a 4 to make it less, 5 to a 6 to make it bigger, and the rest of the number just stays the same. So I think that's a little bit simpler way to think about it than the number line, but number line is another way to visualize it, as long as you just make sure to change that number in the tenths place. This is just sort of, again, summing up. We went from 55 to 65, 55 to 45. Just that number in the tenths place changed. So again, think about place value versus number lines. And we'll do some examples. So say I was going to do 4 7/10 of an inch. If I wrote it in my chart. And then if we wanted to find 1/10 more, we could say, okay, we're just going to take our tenths place and we're going to make it 1/10 bigger. So we get 4 8/10. Just increase the 7 to an 8. All right, let's do some practice examples. If it's what I'm remembering, that first one is a little tricky because it's just, if you have a 9, that's the main time you really have to be careful when you're going, especially more. So, because if I just say, well, 5 and 9/10, I'm going to increase it to 5 and 10, that's not more, right? That's a smaller number, so that doesn't work. I have to think about it as changing. Well, let me just rewrite that. It's like I'm adding on a 10th, which means it's like this turns into 10 and I carry the 1 over here, so it's actually going to be 6.0. So I can't just go 9 turns into 10 and leave that in the 10th place. I have to move it over because 10 tenths is a whole. So if I'm saying, okay, I have 9/10, 1/10 more is 10, that turns into another whole and goes to the next place over. Or if I look at a number line, well, this is 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, 5.9 is what I started at. So if I'm, in this case, each line is a 10th, so I can just go up 1 to 6.0, 6 and no tenths. 1/10 less is a little easier. I can just go backwards from 5.9 to 5.8 and 5 and 8/10. All right. If you need more explanation, let us know. All right, go ahead and see if you can figure out what number is 1/10 more and what number is 1/10 less than 0 and 52 hundredths. Did you get it? All right. Well, if I just think about, okay, my tenths is the only one that's changing. 1/10 more is going to be 0 and 62 because I went from 5 to 6. 1/10 less is going to be 42 because I go from 5 to 4. Think about, okay, this is 0.5, so 52 is going to be a little bit past. And then again, I'm going to go up to 62, down to 42. It's like counting by 10, sort of. Because remember, 1/10, you could also think of it as 10 hundredths. So I'm counting up 10 or down 10. All right, go ahead. See if you can figure out what number is 1/10 more and 1/10 less than 1 and 45 hundredths. All right, hopefully you got that it's 1 and 35 hundredths is less, and 1 and 55 hundredths is 1/10 more. We'll do a few more. 1/10 more and 1/10 less than 6 and 2/10. 1/10 more is going to be 6 and 3/10. 1/10 less is going to be 6 and 1/10. So again, just counting up a 10th, down a 10th, up a 10th, down a 10th. One more, one less. If Tosha walks 8/10 of a mile to school, her walk home is 1/10 less. How many miles is her walk home? All right, hopefully you took it away. I should point out less is subtraction, more is adding, because we're getting bigger. So if you said 0 and 7/10, yay, look at us go. All right, I just want to do one more with that 9 in there. So go ahead and see if you can figure out what is 1/10 less and 1/10 more than 3 and 9/10. All right, hopefully you got it. Hopefully you did not say 3 and 10 hundredths, because that would be different. It'd be 3 and 10 tenths, which is actually the same as 4, right? Because it's like, if I'm adding on 0.1, the 10 carries over, and I end up with 4 wholes. You visualize it and you say, okay, I have 9 tenths filled in, and I need another 10th. That's going to then be the whole thing. No, that's a very messy picture. If you want me to draw you better when I can. And then 1/10 less is going to be 3 and 8 tenths, because 1 less than 9 is 8. Good luck. If you need help, absolutely make sure you let us know. Good luck.